guys, it's Jessica from Rantastic, and it is October and almost Halloween, so I thought I would give you one of my real life ghost stories. Some of my viewers have been asking me to do them, and so today I thought I would give you one of my stories. I am a person who is considered a receptive or intuitive, and because of that, I've seen and felt a lot of things that others may not see or feel. And I have many stories, many ghost stories, visions. I've seen a lot of things. So the story that I'm going to tell you today is the man next door. Okay, so about 20 years ago, I was sitting outside with my infant daughter, playing outside like we did every day. And I had a blanket out on my front lawn, and I had one of those little baby jungle gyms where they could lay on their back and play with the little objects, and my daughter just loved this. So we were playing in the yard, and I was watching my neighbor walking back and forth across the street and working on a house. My neighbor, he owned several of the houses on our block, and the house next door to me was rented by several college students. So my neighbor would frequently go over there and check on the house and check with the boys and make sure everything was okay, and that anything that needed to be fixed was fixed, and making sure things weren't going awry with these college kids. In addition to owning these houses, behind our house was a huge chain grocery store, and he was the general manager of that grocery store. So this man kept very busy. And so on this particular day, I was outside with my daughter playing like we usually did when it was nice outside. And I remember watching my neighbor walking back and forth from his house to the house next door, and I remember this little dog following him around, and it was just weird how much he was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'd never seen him doing it that much in one day. So I just sat back. I actually sat on my stoop while my daughter was playing in the grass and was smoking a cigarette. And one of the times, or the last time that I saw my neighbor pass by, he decided to walk into my yard and sit down next to me. And that's when I really got a chance to see this dog up close. And it was a very unfortunate looking dog. I almost feel like the dog had some form of retardation. I don't know if animals can get it, but this dog really looked like that. The face was kind of deformed, and the eyeballs are hanging down, kind of drooping, like they're coming out of his head, drooping down, and it was just weird looking. But this dog was like so attached to this man, and everywhere he walked, the dog was like right there. So I'm sitting outside, and the neighbor asked if he could have a cigarette, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I had talked to him before, but nothing like this day. And so he sat down next to me on the step, and we had a conversation. We smoked a cigarette. We talked about my daughter. We talked about his house next door, and how the boys were moving out, and he was gonna have to get ready for new renters, and all the work he was doing next door. And we talked for a long time. I would say a good hour. We sat there and we talked and just enjoyed each other's company. And when he was done, he got up and he walked across the street, and I didn't really pay any attention to what happened after that. Um, I went and I gathered my daughter and our things, and I went in the house, and my mom came home. And I was in the kitchen with my mother, and she said, "Did you hear what happened to the neighbor?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Look across the street." And I looked, and all of a sudden there was all these cars coming down the street and parking in front of his house. And I'm like, "What is going on?" And she said, he had a heart attack 3 days ago at the grocery store and just kind of dropped dead. And I was like, that's not possible. It's not possible, because I was just sitting outside with him 5, 10 minutes ago, and we were talking and having a conversation. And she's like, no, you weren't. It's not possible, because he died 3 days ago. So my mom and I kind of debated this, and I told him about the conversation, and I told him about the dog, or told my mom about the dog, and we followed him across the street, and it was just very interesting, because she's like, he died at the grocery store 3 days ago, and today's his funeral, and all these people are at his home paying respect. And I remember I was just like freaking out, for one, because I was like, I saw him, I smoked a cigarette with him, we talked for over an hour, I was watching him all day. And that was probably one of my first experiences with a real life ghost, and it was just so I don't know, beautiful, I guess. There was no fear involved. He looked like a real person. You couldn't see through him. It wasn't like the movies. It wasn't like a ghost apparition where it's just a figure. He looked just like you and me. He talked just like you and me. Maybe he didn't even realize he had passed on and is just walking around and carrying on his life. I don't know, but it was just a really awesome experience for me, and it really opened up my eyes to the universe and what's around me, and it really intrigued me. So anyways, that is my ghost story, The Neighbor. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.